Should we have a look at the that same clip, and we'll have a look at it, you know, how it goes through the grading process, and you know, from ungraded S-Log2, and how it wipes to the finished graded look. So if we can get lights again. So I think you can all tell which side is the graded and ungraded side.
I don't know, people like the flat look these days for some reason. I don't know why. So this scene itself was quite interesting, and we'll get to it later. But as we were talking about it, there was actually no noise reduction used for any of these shots, which was very, very impressive for a camera. Usually with cameras that are kind of this size body and you know, that range, you always tend to kind of be a little scared of the amount of noise that you'd get and how that reflects into skin tones. But certainly the idea of overexposing it by 2 stops helped that a lot, so we didn't have to go into any noise reduction whatsoever.
So I believe this is your studio at Alter Ego.
Yeah, that's correct.
During grade, and you had a really interesting story that you told me about some of your colleagues.
Yeah, so obviously we're 6 colorists at Alter Ego, and obviously when you're grading, you know, people are curious as to what you're doing in a dark theater. And one day I kind of took a coffee break, and you know, a colleague of mine just kind of poked his head in, and he was like, "Oh, well, what are you grading there?" And I was like, "Oh, it's, you know, 3 Days in August." He's like, "Oh, that's cool." He's like, "Well, what's this shot on? Is this Alexa?" I was like, "No, it's actually you know, the Sony A7R Mark II." And he was like, "Really?" So you know, that kind of speaks volumes when a colleague of yours actually feels that it's an Alexa. So it was pretty cool.
Oh, we feel good about it too. All right, I'm going to play 3 clips, and Jim, you can comment on these. And this is basically going through your process, and if you can talk us through it and how you go about doing that.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah. So it's actually the grade itself and how we got to the final point. So it was kind of, yeah, obviously going from an S-Log image and then applying a very basic grade, just black's black, white. I didn't care too much about the skin tones because I knew I'd fix them in the look, the look building process. So yeah, just kind of reshaping a little bit of the picture in terms of composition with vignettes and helping actors' faces. Same with this. This was a really nice setup actually from Bongani. So again, just a very base grade, setting a look, and then just doing a little bit of texture and finessing and sharpening and adding just very subtle hints of grain. And same with our balcony setup here. Again, S-Log, just a very simple thing, building the grade, vignetting a little bit, and just a little bit of kind of sharpening techniques, and adding grade.
So clearly, I mean, obviously a lot of things I noticed straight away is dynamic range, obviously. A lot of detail and a lot of color and very low noise. That, I mean, I may be biased, but that's what I noticed straight away from watching these clips.
No, it's certainly very, very impressive in terms of the amount of dynamic range I had. And certainly, you know, the way that it's exposed and lit, you know, certainly helps quite a bit. But yeah, I was very surprised with the amount of low noise that the camera actually gave.
Right. Now, one of the things that I mentioned earlier, the camera externally will shoot and internally will shoot 8-bit versus 10-bit. And, you know, we obviously have a lot of people that speak up about how they would prefer to have 10-bit, so would we. You know, what issues did you run into? What did you notice? You know, did you feel it as a crutch, or was it okay?
It was actually, you know, surprisingly smooth, because when people shoot 10-bit formats or source material, you're kind of, and especially if you're going to cinema, you're always a little, you know, unsure about how it's going to hold up. But I mean, I didn't really come across any banding issues of any kind with regards to either skies or walls or gradients of anything of the sort. So it might have been obviously partly due to the fact that we went from 8-bit to a 10-bit container, which sometimes helps, and adding a little bit of grain. But as a raw image, when I started, I never kind of cringed and said, "Oh, what is that banding?" So it was actually very, 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 very good material to actually grade with and start with. So.
All right, great. So, one of the last questions that we asked Jonathan, and I'm going to go through each panelist as well. What was your takeaway from this experience? You've used literally a $3,400 camera with $20,000 lenses, and you're not a tremendous amount of support equipment. You've pretty much produced a family drama on a $200,000 budget, and I think I forgot to mention that the film actually debuted at the Dallas Film Festival. It's currently on limited circuit, correct? And then it's also up for options at some additional film festivals. So seems to be doing quite well already. But let's hear what Jonathan has to say about his takeaways, and then we'll ask each one of the panelists. And after that, we'll go to questions.
All in all, I have to say I was extremely impressed with the quality of footage that we got. I was looking at it every evening, so I knew we were getting it. Shooting in S-Log2 gave us great flexibility, and Cem can talk a little bit about that in the color process. Of course, the camera has great latitude. There's interior scenes, there's exterior scenes, and it really handled both exceptionally well. So I think what we've created here in some ways is not only a great film in 3 Days in August, but this great workflow for independent filmmakers who can shoot the A7R2 with a Shogun, with great glass in front of it, and be confident that you're going to get solid footage that when you get into edit, you're going to have a great chance to put together a great project. So thanks again to Sony and our other partners.
Okay, so I think that speaks volumes, hearing that from somebody like Jonathan. And I want to go across the room. I'm going to come back in reverse order, and starting at the tail end of the production. Cem, maybe you can give us your feedback. How did you find the process? And I think you alluded to some of that, but give us a little bit further insight. And is there something or is the A7 series, and particularly the S and the R, would those be something that you would recommend?
Oh, absolutely. I think as a camera, it certainly impressed me a lot, and obviously there's the combination of the lenses, which is just as important, because at the end of the day, we tend to forget that what comes into the sensor actually has to go through lenses, and that actually is sometimes just as important, if not more important, than the camera itself. So I think as the system itself, it was beautiful pictures to work with. It was great. And it's funny enough, actually, I thought of this just like 15 minutes ago. This week I graded a commercial where they shot with an Alexa and A7S as a B camera. And they actually used more footage from the Sony than the Alexa, and it held up beautifully. The client was extremely happy. So, yeah, I think it's a great combo, and it's a great camera. So I'm really, really happy with it.
Great. And Bongani, from a DP standpoint, give us your insight. You've shot with a lot of cameras.
I think for one, it really opens up the space and the market for independent filmmakers to shoot, because I think that's always a concern of trying to get the best bang for your buck. And my experience shooting with the A7R2 and just with the alpha cameras in general is that they have really, really, really great quality and dynamic range, and the color science, is really great. And then just that versatility on set for any kind of form you put it in, and it's extremely light, and so that really helps. It's all positives and pluses, and then for me, of course, at the end of the day, I'm pixel peeping, just looking at every single little thing on screen, and I was really happy with what we had. And so that's my takeaway would be A7S, the A7R Alpha cameras are awesome.
Great, thank you. By the way, I need to make a note. None of the panelists have been paid to be here. So, I'm serious, Glenn.
We just get water.
they got water in the bag. And Jeff, let's hear from you.
I mean, I already had a pretty good feeling, and I was pretty confident when I proposed the camera to Johnathan, or proposed the A7S, because I had experienced already what you can do with that footage in a coloring suite, for example. You know, I have a lot of experience with the A7 series cameras, and I really like their feature set. I really like, you know, Sony has such a long legacy and history in broadcast and cinema cameras that, you know, so many cool features have trickled down into these cameras too, including S-Log right out of the box. You know, so, I mean, what I think, you know, I mean, I'm really proud with how this film turned out and how it looks, but at the same time, I'm not surprised because I know what these cameras are capable of, and I'm really happy about that.
Great. All right, I think that's a good way to end Cine Gear. I hope everybody had a great time. Thank you. And again, I'd like to thank our panelists and then all the partners that worked on the film.